Hello and welcome to the Longwood Women's Basketball Coaches Corner with head coach Bill Reinson. I'm your host, Scott Bacon. We appreciate you joining us again. And coach, as always, we appreciate you taking the time.
Good morning to you.
Let's talk a little bit about the week that was. Coming into the week, first place in the Big South Conference, two tough road contests at High Point and at Liberty. And take us back to that Liberty game first, or I should say High Point game first on Thursday night. 83-66 the loss. Your thoughts on the performance?
Well, I thought the effort was good. I really did. We lost ourselves a little bit midway through the first half. Crystal Smith went down with an injury and didn't return. But I think we battled the whole game. I don't think the 17-point difference was reflective of how the game went. It was a contrast in styles. They tried to throw the ball inside. When they did a good job of it, they scored. When they missed, we just ran it right down their throat. So it was kind of an entertaining game for about 35 minutes. Then at that point, we got a little bit tired, made some bad decisions, and the lead stretched from like 9-17 or whatever the final score was. But the game was closer than the score.
You touched on Crystal going out with the injury. She had an ankle injury, had scored 7 points, and is now one shy of 1,000. Not exactly the way you envision it going if you're a senior like Crystal Smith, but give us an update on her. She didn't play again on Saturday, and what her loss means to the team.
Well, first of all, I think she should probably be back Thursday. Maybe not 100%, but she should probably be back. Her loss to the team, on many levels, she's been the two-time Big South Player of the Week. Obviously, that hurts, not having her in the lineup. She seems to be a calming influence on offense. When we get bogged down and start doing crazy things, she's the one who kind of reins us back in and gets us back to normal. And the other thing is, as I've spoken before about the freshmen have done a great job this year of improving. But when you lose Crystal Smith for 40 minutes, that means those 40 minutes have to be absorbed by other people who aren't used to playing those minutes. And there is a definite drop-off, as well as our freshmen have been playing. There's a definite drop-off between the two.
Almost all seniors and freshmen on this year's team. And Daisha Brown, one of those freshmen who had another outstanding game in the contest at High Point, 29 points, 10 rebounds, and already her third double-double of the season.
Well, it's incredible that she gets all those double-doubles because most of them are points and rebounds, and she might be 5'3". So she's very small but very athletic, got a huge heart, and just loves to compete.
How much do you have to stress that to your team that all five have to rebound with the lack of size on your squad?
We go through that every day. We practice that every day. We work on it. I think they understand that. Problem is, when you go up against teams like Presbyterian, like High Point, like Liberty, that are just so much bigger than we are, that it may not even be effective to box out because players are tall enough to reach over you and, bigger, stronger, push you underneath, that type of thing. But we've been battling. You
mentioned Liberty. That was the game on Saturday, playing the first and second preseason teams in the conference this week, and both on the road. 91-58 loss at the Vine Center. Your thoughts?
Well, again, we started out very, very well. We played very hard. We were guarding them. We were doing a good job. For about the first 8 minutes, I think, we may have even had the lead at the 8-minute mark, and we were playing extremely well. Then what happened after that was we kind of lost our mind for about a 5-minute stretch, and we started shooting the ball very quickly, either one pass or even no passes, driving to the basket, and started missing shots, which allowed them to get out in transition and not work on defense. So we called a timeout, tried to fix it, just mentioning, hey, look, we had a lot of quick shots, and then we went out for the next 4-minute period and shot the ball even quicker. So I think a lot of that goes back to Crystal Smith again and her feel for the game, being able to rein that in. With her being out, I think we really struggled to kind of calm ourselves down.
A week like this is one of those weeks that a broadcaster would love to say you'll learn a lot about your team. Is there something as a coach you either learned about your team or how to make adjustments moving forward with the season?
Well, I don't think we're going to do much different because we don't have many options. But the thing that I did learn about High Point and Liberty is that we have to be much more aggressive defensively in order to try to take them out of their offense, because once they do get it down inside to their bigger players, it's a struggle for us, guarding them and rebounding the basketball. So if we get Crystal back, a couple of home games against them 2 weeks from now, we'll probably extend the defense a little bit and try to force turnovers, keep them away from the basket a little bit more.
Yeah, you can't add height to your team or size, and High Point and Liberty, you mentioned two of the bigger teams in the conference. And that seems to be your approach in trying to extend that defense?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you don't want to go back to Crystal because I think I go into every game believing we can win, and with or without Crystal, I thought we could win both of those games. But with her gone, you're again putting people in positions that they're not used to. So when you do extend the defense, they're not really as good as Crystal would be at it.
How about the team mentality now? You had so much success early in Big South Conference play. You go 6-1, you have sole possession of first place. Now here's this stretch of 4 games in a row on the road, playing 2 of the best teams in the conference, and now after back-to-back losses, where do you feel like the team is at?
Oh, I think we're fine. I think we're fine. We knew this would be a tough stretch. They're all taking care of each other, taking up for each other, and I think they're hopeful that we get Crystal back healthy very soon. But we understand now we've played everybody in the conference with the exception of Asheville, so we know what to expect. So our scouting reports for the second half of the season will be much easier and much more in depth. And so, no, I think everybody's on a good vibe right now.
You touched on something I wanted to ask you about specifically. This week, 2 games again on the road coming up at Coastal Carolina and at Campbell, 2 teams that you've beaten this year at home already. But more specifically to what you just mentioned, playing teams for a second time, expand on that a bit. How much of an advantage it is for you as a coach and as a team having already seen somebody?
It's a definite advantage. You can watch them on tape the first time, but they'll do different things against you than they would against other opponents. And we found that to be the case with Coastal Carolina. They came in and really played well in the first half. Here, we were fortunate to kind of get on a roll in the second half and beat them. But so now we'll go back, we'll look at the tape, we'll see what exactly they did in that first half, and then we'll be able to make adjustments based upon that. Campbell, I think we're probably going to see the same thing. They're going to run the 1-2-2 half-court trap back to a 2-3 zone, and we'll prepare for that on Friday.
I like the way you worded that. Kind of got it going in the second half. Outscored Coastal Carolina by 27, 52-25 in that comeback victory. You came from 17 down, so a 31-point swing. And we touched on it earlier in the year, so I don't want to get redundant, but you came out a little flat in that game against Coastal and then got it going. Any other adjustments you make going into that game on the road at Coastal?
Well, we'll have to take better care of the basketball. Against Coastal Carolina here, we kind of threw it around a little bit, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that we came out a little flat. But I think if we take care of the basketball, get shots at the basket, and they have 3 very good scorers on the perimeter, so we'll have to defend them again. If Crystal's back healthy, we should be in pretty good shape to do that.
Well, and safe to say a team that relinquished a 17-point lead against you is going to come out hungry to get a win.
Yeah, well, I think that's going to be the case throughout the second half of the season. I mean, we have a couple of debts to repay also. We've got Liberty, High Point, and Presbyterian, 3 games that we're looking forward to. And I'm sure the coaches from the other teams that we defeated the first time are using the same strategy against us.
Not sneaking up on anybody now.
Well, it's been a while since we snuck up on somebody.
Well, Campbell, another team that will be looking for payback, 77-75 victory, the last second shot by Crystal Smith. That game at Campbell on Saturday. Your thoughts? You mentioned the defensive approach they had the first time around. Any adjustments you make for the Camels?
Well, I think we have to get much better at attacking the 1-2-2. We didn't do a very good job of it. In particular, driving against the 1-2-2 didn't work. We turned the ball over quite a bit. The bad thing about it is we play Coastal first, so we'll only have a 1-day prep for the Campbell game. But we'll do what we can. We'll watch film. We'll show them where the mistakes were made, show them where we need to attack, and I think we'll be okay.
Other conferences have had that turnaround Thursday to Saturday. The men used to do it in the Big South. Of course, a lot of teams throughout college basketball do that. But mention that and go a little bit further with that. How much of a challenge is that to go from playing Thursday to Saturday?
Well, a lot of it depends. It depends if you're playing a team that has also played on Thursday. For instance, last week we not only played High Point, who was picked number 2 in the league, and Liberty, who was picked number 1, but High Point had a bye before our game, and Liberty had a bye before our game. So both teams had 7 days to prepare for us and to rest, whereas we were continually playing. You don't use that as an excuse, but it helps to have that extra preparation time and that extra rest time. We'll have that, I believe, after the Radford game, so we'll get a chance, a little bit of break in the action there to kind of recharge our batteries.
On Saturday, that game against Campbell will be the Big South Conference Game of the Week on ESPN3. And in moving into the Big South Conference, Coach, and moving to Division I prior to that, a lot of talk about the ability of athletics to tell the Longwood University story on a national stage, to add to the profile of the university. Well, a good example of that on Saturday on ESPN3 for the first time. I would think it would be exciting for you and the team.
Yeah, I think it'll be very exciting for the team. I'm not even sure that a lot of them realize that we will be on TV, and I'd like to keep it that way until game time. But the thing about it is, I think we represent ourselves very well. I mean, I think we go out there and we play hard. Sometimes we don't do the smartest things. Sometimes we miss a lot of shots, but I think you can count on us going out there and playing hard. And if that's the way that we represent Longwood University as a bunch of hardworking young ladies that love to play basketball, then that's fine by me.
Now at the halfway point to go in this season, in the Big South Conference season that is, 6-3, still 9 games left to go. And the way the standings are kind of jumbled at the top or bunched up, it looks like it's going to be a 7-team race for those top 5 spots. I wanted to go back to the start of the year to now. How much has this team changed, going into the home stretch? When you look back at where you thought this team would be at this point, is there something that maybe surprised you or just a biggest difference from day one?
Well, I think the game that surprised me was Radford, because I didn't really know what to expect when we got into conference. But they came out and they played very well against Radford, and I think that got us on a little bit of a roll. It established our identity, and we've kind of maintained that identity throughout the season. I still don't think we've played our best game yet. We've played a lot of very good halves of basketball, portions of halves, but I still think our best game is yet to come. And with 9 games left in the season, I can see it approaching pretty quickly.
Now, how analytical do you get as a coach at this point? You always hear the, take it game by game mentality for a head coach. Now you got 9 games left, sitting at 6-3, tied for 4th, and we mentioned 7 teams battling for those top 5 spots that will get a bye in the first round of the conference tournament. Do you start to think about that now? Think, oh, it could take 6 wins, it could take 7 wins. Is that your mentality at all?
Well, I'll tell you one thing and I'll tell the girls the other. I know exactly what we need to do to finish 5th. I won't tell them that. We'll play them 1 game at a time. And like I've said before, there's not a team in this conference that we won't be able to beat if we play well. And on the flip side, unfortunately, there's not a team that we wouldn't be able to lose to either.
And that was my next question too, right? How do you convey the appropriate message to your team? And going back to the mentality question after a tough week, trying to keep their spirits high, their confidence moving forward, and their eyes on one of those top 5 spots.
It's not very hard. When you have 4 seniors who are committed to doing what our 4 seniors are, I think it's pretty easy. Even at the end of the Liberty game, I talked to Chelsea and I talked to Aaron and made mention that we needed to play hard for the entire game. And not because it was going to do us any good at the Liberty game, because we were already down by so many points, but it kind of gives an example to the freshmen that we're going to play hard for 40 minutes, regardless of what the score, regardless of the outcome. And I think that the last 10 minutes that they played, I mean, they worked as hard as they possibly could. And I think the rest of the team saw that, and I think they'll follow their example.
Well, since you have internally analyzed these last 9 games a bit, I'll ask you this too. 2 more road games this week. That finishes a stretch of 4 in a row on the road. 5 out of 7 at home to finish the season. Do you feel at all as a coach like let's get through this week and we'll be in a good spot, especially if you can pick up a win this week?
Again, 2 separate answers. I know exactly who we need to beat in order to get to that 5th spot, but we're just going to take them 1 day at a time.
Well, appreciate it, Coach. Good luck this week. 2 more games on the road. We mentioned on Thursday at Coastal Carolina and then on Saturday against Campbell. Again, it's the Big South Conference Game of the Week on ESPN3, so make sure to check it out. Coach, as always, we appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Scott.
Again, you've been joining us here on the Longwood Women's Basketball Coaches Corner with head coach Bill Reinson here on LongwoodLancers.com.